Hi, welcome back to the Vienna Symphonic Library channel. In this tutorial, I'll share some woodwinds MIDI programming secrets. As usual, I'll be using John Williams' example. This is Nimbus 2000, performed by the great Synchron Woodwinds. Most composers are used to writing for strings and therefore can get a bit intimidated when writing for woodwinds, as they think they don't really know how to approach the different woodwind sections. With this example, Williams shows that you can use woodwinds almost the same way as strings. Think of the flutes as the first violins, oboes as the second, clarinets as violas, bassoons as celli, and contrabassoon as double basses. And you'll see that writing for woodwinds will be much easier. Of course, the sound is not as homogeneous as with the strings, but that's what makes woodwinds so special. For such a complex composition, using different articulations was crucial, so I used the expression maps, which are freely provided by VSL. If you didn't know about those, you can download them from the additional tab in Vienna Assistant. With this demo, I tried a new approach when selecting suitable articulations. I focused on the start of the notes and especially on whether the notes should be accented or not. And I used legato transitions only for the notes where a transition actually occurs. That way I ensured that the phrases had the required attack and that the legato transition was playing at the right spot. Let me show you an example. When we translate the notation into the actual sounding articulations, we get a result like this. If we ignore the attacks and forget the legato rule, we will get a not so great result. Notice that the sound is not as punchy as it should be, especially near the sixth bar. When we remove the portato articulation, we lose the attack. and additionally the legato transition is being played from the previous note, which is not ideal as the transition should only be played here. Synchron woodwinds have a well-recorded set of articulations, and selecting the suitable ones for your melody will boost its character. The contrasting theme uses more long notes, so this was the time for the new lyrical legato to shine. Here I used the highest dynamic level and shaped the timbre with the timbre adjust controller. Selecting the right articulations and automating the dynamics is just 60% of the realism you can achieve with virtual orchestration. You can push it further with a great mix. As a starting point, I selected the wide surround to stereo mixer preset for all instruments. I prefer a more fluty sound with fewer oboes, so I use the 3 decibel rule and reduce oboes around that value, and increased flutes a little bit. That rule says that a change of 3 decibels is typically considered the smallest noticeable change in volume by the human ear. Any change below 3 dB is more felt than heard. Every time I mix a mockup, I tend to use the same plugins and presets. I always add an exciter to the master channel, which comes with Vienna Ensemble Pro 7. When samples are edited, they always must be denoised, otherwise the noise floor will be increased with every instrument you add. The side effect of noise reduction is that you lose a little bit of high-frequency information, so I'm adding it back with the exciter. With the exciter, you should not overdo it, or otherwise it could sound like a bad pair of earplug headphones. I often use the Appassionata Violin Silky preset and leave it as it is, or you can decrease the effect with the drive and amount knob. The next plugin I use a lot in my mockups is the Hybrid Reverb Pro from Vienna Suite Pro. I found that the True Surround Scoring Stage preset works very well with everything recorded at the Synchron Stage Vienna. I don't tweak any settings of the preset and only touch the dry and wet sliders. Then I apply an EQ to match the sound character to the original recording. After the EQ, I still felt that the instruments were too present and needed to be pushed back a little further into the room. When you have a track that already has the right amount of reverb and you want to enhance the room or move the instruments further back without making the reverb tail longer, you should use the Miracle plugin. It really does miracles. I use the Recording Stage Enhance preset, increase the wet slider and reduce the dry signal. And here is the track with and without the used plugins. I hope you enjoyed diving into Woodwinds MIDI programming with me today. You can also check out my older video for synchronized woodwinds for more tips on programming solo woodwinds. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Keep making music and see you in the next video. Bye!